So now they want us to create a class called road trip from scratch. And they tell us that the first thing we need in road trip is an array list of geolocations. So I think we want to say something like this. Let's look at the documentation on how we do array lists. So I want to say, oh Lord, I do not want to do that. Let's go to the documentation on array lists, and we want to say array list of geolocations, and I'm going to call it my stops. That's going to be the name of my array, equals new array list of geolocations, and then parentheses and then semicolon. So that's our main instance variable. Then we're going to have to say, we're going to have to have a constructor. So public road trip. And I don't really think we need any parameters to be placed. Okay. Then we're supposed to, back over here to the assignment, we need a method to add a stop, public void add stop, and when someone wants to add a stop to their road trip, they will provide a name for that stop and a latitude for that stop and a longitude for that stop. So we're going to use that information to create a new geolocation. So geolocation, just realized up here this should say geolocation singular, not plural. So geolocation, we create a new variable called G, which is going to be a new geolocation. And I'm going to create that new geolocation using the name that was given to me and the latitude that was given to me and the longitude that was given to me. And so you can see over here in the geolocation class, the constructor is expecting a name, a latitude, and a longitude. So I'm providing it with the name and the latitude and the longitude that were just given to me in the add stop. And so then what are we going to do with this new geolocation that we just created, which is just a variable called G? We are going to add to our array. So our array, which is called my stops, we're going to add this geolocation. And I'm pretty sure that's all we have to do there. Okay, then we need a getter method for get number of stops, and all we need to do there is return my stops.size. And then we need another public double get trip length. Okay, and this is going to be a little bit more interesting. So to get the trip length, we're going to have to add together a bunch of distances from the legs of the trip. So let's say double this trip equals 0. And let's go through a loop. Let's do a loop that goes through everything in our array, which is called my stops. So I less than my stops dot size and I plus plus. And so for every stop on the trip, we want to calculate the distance between that stop and the next stop. or we could do the distance between that stop and the previous stop, which actually that's probably how I'll do it. I'm going to start this at 1 instead of at 0. And so here's the only calculation we need to do. Over here in the geolocation class, there is a method called distance from. Okay? So I'm going to use that over here. We're going to do the current stop, which is my stops, get item I. So my stops dot get item I will be a geolocation. And any geolocation, we can do a method called distance from. And I want to know the distance from the previous stop, which is going to be my stops get I minus 1. So let me go over the logic of this a little bit. So the first time through the loop, I is going to be 1. So whatever the stop is at location 1, I'm going to get the distance from that to the stop at location I minus 1, which will be 0. So the first time through the loop, this is getting me the distance from stop 1 to stop 0. And the next time through the loop, it's getting me the distance from stop 2 to stop 1, and so on. And so after going through that loop, I lost my mouse. After going through that loop, then we just need to return this variable called this trip, which is going to be the total number of miles, hopefully if all that goes well. And then we're supposed to do a toString method. But for right now, I'm just going to return an empty string. I'm just going to return an empty string because I want to see if all this works so far. See if we have any errors. I'm going to run the code and see what happens here. So what does it not like? Did I miss a semicolon at the end? Yeah, that was kind of dumb. Okay, let's run the code again. Okay, so it does tell me that I have 3 stops and a total miles of 572. Let's see if that's close. It looks like we're supposed to have 3 stops and 572.9. 572.9. So it looks like all of that is working. The only thing we need to tweak now is the toString. So let's see what this is supposed to look like. The output of the program should be stop number 1, San Francisco, and its coordinates. But this is already in the toString method of geolocation. Geolocation is already going to print out, where's that? Right here, it's already going to print out the name of the stop and the latitude and the longitude. So all we have to do is get it to print out the number 1 and this dot and this space and then that geolocation. So here's what our string is going to look like. We're going to say string trip string equals blank for right now. And then we're going to go through a loop, again, going through every item in our array of stops, which is called my stops. Okay, so what do I want to do for the trip string? I want the trip string to equal, I want the trip string to equal first of all, I want I plus 1, because when I is 0, I want it to print out a 1 over here. So I want I plus 1, and then I want a string. So my stops get item I will be a geolocation. And in the geolocation class over here, we already have a toString method. So if I just say my stops item I, that's automatically going to print out all of this crap. So the only thing we're missing is we need a little space in there. So a space and another plus sign. So that should be okay. And instead of returning blank, we're going to return trip string. And also, to force this to go on the next line, I think at the end of this, we want to say something like \n, if I'm not mistaken. Force that to go to another line. So let's run the code now and see if it prints out the way we want. Okay, so we've got a 1. We forgot the dot, and they're going to ding us for that. So we got to have a 1, and then a period, and then a space, and then the name. And we just got a 1 in the name. So I'm going to come over here to my code and put a little dot right there. Then period. Run this. There we go. San Francisco, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, total miles. If I click on the assignment, that looks the way it's supposed to look. So I think maybe I'm ready to check the code now. Everything looks good.